Welcome, friend. Tonight we walk a quiet path together beneath the stars. The day has asked much of you. It has pulled at your attention in countless ways, but now the day is ending. The world outside grows soft and dim. You have arrived at this moment, and that is enough. There is nothing more you need to do tonight, nothing more you need to fix. The pillow beneath your head holds you gently. The blanket wraps you in warmth. Let your eyes close if they have not already. Let your shoulders sink down. Somewhere in the distance, perhaps you can imagine the sound of rain falling. It falls on temple roofs and quiet gardens. It falls on stone paths and sleeping villages. The rain does not hurry. It does not worry about where it lands. It simply falls, and in falling, it brings peace to everything it touches. Tonight, let these words be like that rain. Let them fall gently upon your mind. You do not need to hold on to them. You do not need to remember. Simply let them wash over you, soft and slow and kind. A candle flickers somewhere in the darkness. Its light is small but steady. It does not try to illuminate the whole room. It simply glows where it is, and in that small glow, there is enough. There is always enough. Your breath moves in and out without any effort from you at all. Notice how it rises. Notice how it falls, like waves upon a shore. The ocean does not force its waves. They come and go naturally. Your breath is the same. It knows what to do without being told. For just this moment, let go of trying to control anything at all. The world will continue without your guidance. The stars will keep their courses. The moon will rise and set. The seasons will turn as they always have. And you, dear friend, can simply rest within this vast and gentle universe. There is a teaching that has been passed down through countless generations. It speaks of a truth so simple that we often overlook it entirely. The teaching says that peace is not something we must search for. Peace is not hidden in some distant mountain temple or ancient scroll. Peace is not the reward for years of struggle or perfect understanding. Peace is what remains when we stop struggling. It is already here. It has always been here, waiting quietly beneath our thoughts and worries. Like the sky behind the clouds, peace is the background of all experience. The clouds may gather, they may darken and swirl with storm and shadow, but behind them, the sky remains unchanged, vast and blue and still. Your mind may feel like clouds tonight. Thoughts may drift and swirl. Memories of the day may surface. Worries about tomorrow may whisper. But you are not those clouds. You are the sky that holds them. You are the stillness that watches thoughts arise and fade away. This is not something you need to believe. It is something you can notice. Right now, in this very moment, something within you is aware and present. That awareness is not troubled by what it sees. It simply observes. It watches thoughts the way a mountain watches the weather passing by. Storms come and go. Seasons change, but the mountain remains unmoved. You are like that mountain tonight, steady and rooted and calm. The rain continues to fall in the garden of your imagination. Each drop finds its way to the earth. Each drop disappears into soil. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is lost. Everything returns to where it belongs. Your breath deepens now, perhaps without you even noticing it happening. The body knows how to relax. The body knows how to let go. You have carried so much today. You have held so many things together. But now your hands can open. Now your grip can soften. Imagine holding a small bird in your cupped palms, holding it gently. If you squeeze too tightly, you will harm the bird. It cannot breathe. If you hold too loosely, the bird will fly away before you are ready. But there is a middle way, a gentle holding that honours both freedom and connection. This is how we learn to hold life itself, with soft and open hands. Tonight, practice holding this moment with that same gentle touch, not grasping, not pushing away, simply allowing what is to be. The candle flame dances slightly in some unseen breath of air. Shadows move across the walls like slow and peaceful travellers. There is nowhere they need to go. They are simply moving because that is their nature. You too can move through this night without destination or agenda. Let sleep come when it comes. Let rest arrive in its own time. There is no rush. There is no deadline. Only this gentle unfolding. Long ago, in a small mountain village, there lived an old calligrapher. His hands were weathered from decades of holding brushes and grinding ink. His eyes had grown dim with age, and eventually he lost his sight entirely. Many people thought his life as an artist had come to an end. How could a blind man continue to paint the beautiful characters he was known for? But the old calligrapher did not see it that way at all. He continued to wake each morning before dawn, as he always had. He would sit in silence, listening to the birds greeting the new day. Then he would prepare his ink with the same care and attention as before. His hands knew where everything was: the stone, the water, the brush. Decades of practice had made these movements as natural as breathing itself. When he finally touched brush to paper, something remarkable happened. His characters had changed. They were different now than before his blindness. Some people said they were worse. They were less precise, less controlled, but others said they were more alive, more free, more true. The old calligrapher himself said nothing about this. He simply continued his work. One day, a young student travelled many miles to study with the master. He had heard stories of the blind calligrapher and wanted to understand his secret. When he arrived at the small cottage, he found the old man sitting quietly. The master's eyes were closed, though it no longer mattered whether they were open. The young student bowed deeply and asked if he might learn from him. The old calligrapher nodded slowly and gestured for the student to sit down. For many days, the master said nothing about calligraphy at all. Instead, he asked the student to simply sit with him in silence. They would sit together through the morning hours, listening to the wind. They would sit through the afternoon rain, feeling the dampness in the air. The student grew impatient. He had come to learn an art, not to sit. Finally, he could no longer contain himself. He asked when the lessons would begin. The old calligrapher smiled gently, his sightless eyes crinkling with warmth. He reached out and took the student's hand in his own weathered palm. He guided those young fingers to touch the surface of a blank page. "Feel this," he said softly. "Feel the paper beneath your hand." The student felt the texture, the slight roughness, the way it absorbed warmth. He had touched paper thousands of times before, but now he truly felt it. The master then dipped a brush in ink and placed it in the student's hand. "Close your eyes," he said, and the student obeyed, though reluctantly. "Now paint," said the master. "Paint what you feel, not what you see." The student hesitated. How could he paint without seeing what he was doing? He was afraid of making mistakes, afraid of wasting ink and paper. But the master's presence was calm and patient, waiting without judgment. So the student began to move the brush, slowly at first, then more freely. He felt the bristles glide across the paper. He felt the ink flowing. He felt his own breath moving in rhythm with the strokes. When he finally opened his eyes, he saw something unexpected on the page. It was not beautiful in any traditional sense. It was rough and imperfect, but there was something alive in it, something he had never achieved before. The master nodded, as if he could somehow sense what had happened. "You see," he said quietly, "the eyes can be a hindrance as much as a help. When we rely only on sight, we try to control what we create. We compare each stroke to an image in our mind. We judge constantly. But when the eyes are closed, something else can guide the brush." The student sat with these words for a long moment, letting them settle. He realized that all his life he had been painting to achieve a result. Every stroke was measured against an ideal. Every work was evaluated and compared. But the old master painted without any concern for results at all. He painted because painting was his nature, like breathing or sleeping. The results were simply what happened when brush met paper in presence. Over the following months, the student learned to paint with his eyes closed. He learned to trust the movement of his hand without seeing it. He learned that control was not the path to beauty. Surrender was. And slowly his calligraphy began to change. It became more fluid, more alive, not because he had gained a new skill, but because he had let go. He had released the tight grip of expectation and allowed something natural to flow. When he finally left the mountain cottage, the student bowed deeply to his master. "Thank you," he said. "You have taught me more than any teacher before." The old calligrapher shook his head gently, still smiling that peaceful smile. "I taught you nothing," he said. "I only helped you unlearn what was in the way." The student carried these words with him for the rest of his life. And whenever he found himself struggling, grasping, trying too hard to control something, he would remember the blind calligrapher sitting peacefully in his small cottage. He would close his eyes, he would breathe, and he would let go. This ancient teaching offers something valuable for us here tonight. So often we move through life with our eyes fixed on outcomes and results. We measure ourselves against images of who we think we should be. We compare our lives to pictures we have created in our minds. And in all this measuring and comparing, we lose touch with something essential. We lose touch with the simple flow of being alive in this moment. The blind calligrapher found freedom in what seemed like limitation and loss. When he could no longer see, he discovered a deeper way of creating. He learned to trust the process rather than controlling the outcome. And in that trust, something beautiful emerged, something authentic and free. Tonight, as you lie here in the gentle darkness, you too can let go. You do not need to control what happens next. You do not need to try. Sleep is not something you can force. Peace is not something you can manufacture. They come on their own when you stop pushing and allow them to arrive. Your breath continues its patient rhythm, in and out, rising and falling. The rain continues to whisper against the windows of your dreaming mind. Each moment dissolves into the next, soft and seamless and slow. There is nowhere to go. There is nothing to achieve. Only this gentle resting. Let your thoughts become like the ink on the calligrapher's brush. Let them flow where they will, without judgment or direction from you. Some thoughts may be dark, Some may be light. It does not matter. They are all just movements of the mind, passing through like clouds. You are the sky behind them, vast and unchanged and free. You are the awareness that watches without being disturbed by what it sees. This is your true nature. This is what you have always been. Not the thoughts, not the worries, not the endless stream of doing, but the stillness at the centre, the presence that simply is. Rest now in that stillness. Let it hold you as you drift towards sleep. The night wraps around you like a soft and ancient cloak. Stars turn slowly overhead, following paths they have traced for billions of years. The same stars that shone over the blind calligrapher's mountain cottage, the same stars that have witnessed countless beings finding peace in the darkness. You are part of this vast continuity, this endless river of life, and tonight you can simply float upon its gentle current. No swimming, no struggling, just floating where the water takes you. Peace is not something we create. It is what remains when we stop struggling. Let this truth settle into your bones like warmth spreading through your body. You have struggled enough today. You have worked and worried and tried. Now is the time for letting go. Now is the time for rest. The candle has burned a little lower. Its flame is soft and steady. Shadows have grown longer, deeper, more peaceful in their slow dance. Everything is settling. Everything is finding its natural place of rest. And you are part of this settling, this great return to stillness. Your eyes grow heavy if they are not already closed. Your limbs grow soft. The boundary between waking and sleeping begins to blur and fade. This is natural. This is good. This is exactly as it should be. There is another story that comes to mind as the night deepens around us. It is a story about a temple and a cat and an unexpected teaching. Many generations ago, there was a monastery high in the misty mountains. Monks had lived and practiced there for centuries, seeking wisdom and peace. Their days followed a careful rhythm of meditation, work, and simple living. Every morning they gathered before dawn to sit in silence together. Every evening they chanted ancient words that had been passed down for ages. Their lives were orderly and disciplined, devoted to the path of awakening. But one spring, something unexpected arrived at the monastery gates. A small orange cat wandered up the mountain path and made itself at home. No one knew where it had come from. No one knew who it belonged to. It simply appeared one morning, sitting calmly in a patch of sunlight. The monks were not sure what to do about this uninvited guest. Their rules said nothing about cats. Their traditions had no provisions for pets. Some monks wanted to chase the cat away. It was a distraction, they said. Others felt compassion for the small creature and wanted to let it stay. The head monk watched this debate unfold with quiet amusement in his eyes. Finally, he made a simple decision. The cat could stay if it wished, and so the orange cat became part of the monastery's daily life. It wandered through the meditation hall during morning practice, tail swishing gently. It napped in the kitchen while the monks prepared their simple meals. It sat on the stone walls of the garden, watching the clouds drift by. At first, some monks found this terribly distracting. They could not concentrate. Their eyes would follow the cat's movements instead of staying with their breath. Their minds would wonder what the cat was thinking, where it would go next, but the head monk instructed them to include the cat in their practice. "Do not push the cat out of your awareness," he said. Let it be there. Notice how your mind reaches toward distraction and then simply return to stillness. Over time, the monks discovered something unexpected about themselves. The cat became a teacher of sorts, though it taught without any intention. Its presence revealed how easily the mind attaches to whatever is new, and how quickly we judge experiences as either helpful or distracting. The cat did not care about meditation. It did not know about enlightenment. It simply lived its life, moment to moment, without any grand purpose. It slept when it was tired. It stretched in the sunlight when it was warm. It chased small insects in the garden without any concern for appearances, and the monks began to see in this simplicity a kind of natural wisdom. The cat was not trying to be peaceful. It simply was peaceful. It was not practicing mindfulness. It was just present, naturally and completely. One day, a young monk approached the head teacher with a question. "Master," he said, "how is it that the cat seems more at peace than I am? I have practiced for years. I have studied all the teachings. I meditate for hours. But still my mind churns with thoughts. Still I feel restless and unsatisfied. The cat has practiced nothing. It knows nothing of our traditions or techniques, yet it seems to embody everything I am striving so hard to achieve." The head monk listened to this question with patience and compassion. Then he smiled, the same knowing smile that often graced his weathered face. "You have answered your own question," he said gently. "Listen to your own words." The young monk sat with this response, confused at first by its meaning. Then slowly, like morning mist clearing from a valley, understanding began to dawn. He had spoken of striving, of trying hard to achieve something just out of reach. But the cat was not striving. It was not trying to achieve anything at all. The cat simply lived, simply breathed, simply was what it was. And in that simple being, without effort or ambition, peace was already present. The young monk realized that his very effort had been creating his struggle. The harder he tried to find peace, the more he pushed it away. Peace was not something to be achieved through effort and discipline alone. It was something to be uncovered by letting go of endless striving. That evening, the young monk sat in meditation with a different quality of attention. He was not trying to make his mind quiet. He was not pushing thoughts away. He simply sat, like the cat sat, present and relaxed and open. And in that simple sitting, something shifted. The struggle began to dissolve. He still had thoughts. His mind was not suddenly empty or perfectly still. But he was no longer fighting with his experience, no longer at war with himself. He was just sitting, just breathing, just being, moment after moment. The orange cat wandered through the hall during that evening's practice. It paused near the young monk, seemed to look at him for a moment. Then it continued on its way, tail swishing, completely unconcerned with enlightenment, and the young monk smiled, a genuine smile that came from somewhere deep inside. He understood something now that he had not understood before. All his years of practice had been important. They had prepared him for this moment. But the final step was not more practice. It was letting go of the practitioner. It was dropping the one who strives and simply resting in what is. The cat lived at the monastery for many years after that evening. Generations of monks came to study there, and the cat became part of the teachings. Not officially, of course. There were no scrolls written about the orange cat, but every monk who lived there learned something from its unintentional wisdom. They learned that trying too hard can be its own form of obstruction. They learned that sometimes the deepest teachings come from the most unexpected sources. They learned that peace is not a destination to reach through endless effort. It is a way of being that emerges when we stop running after it. When the cat finally grew old and passed away, the monks buried it in the garden. They placed a simple stone near the spot where it had loved to sit, and for many years after, that stone served as a reminder and a teaching. Let go of striving, rest in presence, be like the cat. This teaching floats through the night to reach you where you are resting now. Perhaps you too have been trying very hard, at work, at relationships, at life. Perhaps you have been striving and pushing and measuring yourself endlessly. This is natural. This is what we are taught to do in the world. But tonight, you have permission to stop striving, permission to simply be. You do not need to achieve anything in the next few hours. You do not need to solve any problems or make any important decisions. All you need to do is rest. Let your body sink into softness. Let your mind wander where it will, without trying to control its direction. Like the cat in the monastery, you can simply be what you are. You can breathe without trying to breathe perfectly. You can rest without trying to rest well. Whatever happens tonight is exactly what is supposed to happen. If you fall asleep quickly, that is good. If sleep takes longer to come, that is also good. There is no right way to do this. There is only this moment unfolding gently. The rain has slowed to a soft patter now against the edges of your awareness. Drops fall less frequently, but each one seems more distinct and beautiful. The spaces between drops are filled with a rich and peaceful silence. In those spaces, something vast opens up, something quiet and deep and true. This is the silence that holds all sound, the stillness that holds all movement. It is always here beneath the noise of daily life and busy thought. Tonight, you can sink into that silence. You can rest in that stillness. It will hold you as surely as the earth holds the rain that falls upon it. Nothing is lost. Nothing is wasted. Everything returns to its natural source. Your worries and tensions can return to stillness. Your thoughts can return to quiet. All the doing of the day can dissolve back into the peace of being. This is not something you have to make happen. It is already happening. Every night, consciousness naturally returns to its source in deep, dreamless sleep. Every night, the busy mind finds rest in the stillness it came from. You are simply aligning with this natural process, going where sleep wants to take you. Trust the night. Trust your body. Trust the ancient wisdom of rest. Beings have been sleeping since life first emerged on this planet. Long before there were temples or teachings, there was sleep. There was renewal. Sleep is one of the most natural things in the universe. It needs no technique. It only needs your permission, your willingness to let go and fall. So let yourself fall now, if you are ready, into softness, into darkness, into peace. Or if you are not yet ready, that is fine too. Simply continue to rest. The stories will continue, gentle and unhurried, like water finding its way downhill. There is no pressure here, no expectation, only this quiet companionship in the night. Peace is not something we create. It is what remains when we stop struggling. Let this truth become a lullaby that sings you towards sleep. Let its gentle rhythm match the rhythm of your breath, in and out, rising and falling, like waves on a shore that has no name. The world outside continues on its way, but you do not need to follow it. Meetings and messages and responsibilities can wait until the morning returns. Right now, there is only this moment, this breath, this gentle unfolding. A temple bell rings somewhere far in the distance of imagination. Its tone is clear and round, spreading outward in circles of sound. When the sound fades, silence rushes in to fill the space it left behind. But is it really silence, or is it simply a different kind of sound? Perhaps silence is not the absence of sound at all. Perhaps it is the background from which all sound emerges and returns. Like the white page behind the calligrapher's ink, silence holds everything. It holds the words I am speaking now. It holds your thoughts as you listen. It holds the memory of the bell and the anticipation of what comes next. All of this floats in silence, like islands floating in a vast and peaceful sea. Tonight, you are that sea, vast and calm and deep beyond measure. The thoughts that arise are just small waves on your surface. They come and go, they rise and fall, but they do not disturb your depths. Deep beneath the waves, everything is still, everything is at peace. This is where true rest lives. In the dark, depths that thoughts cannot reach, and you can sink into those depths now if you choose. Let your awareness drift downward, away from the busy surface of the mind, down past the planning and the worrying and the endless mental chatter, down into a quieter place, a darker place, a place of deep rest. There is nothing to fear in this descent. The darkness is gentle here. It is the darkness of a mother's womb before birth, warm and safe and full of potential. It is the darkness between stars, vast and peaceful and eternal. In this darkness, you are held, you are known, you are welcomed home. Another story drifts toward us now, like a leaf floating on a slow stream. It is a story about impermanence, about change, about finding peace within it. There once lived a young monk who was terrified of loss and change. He had come to the monastery as a child after his family died in a flood. That early loss had left a wound that never fully healed within him. He spent his days in practice, trying to protect himself from further pain. He avoided becoming close to anyone, fearing they would be taken away. He kept his possessions to a minimum, fearing they would be destroyed. He even avoided becoming too attached to his own thoughts and insights. Everything in life, he reasoned, could be lost, so best not to hold on to anything. But instead of finding peace in this detachment, he found only coldness. His life felt empty, his practice felt mechanical. Joy had become a stranger to him. The head monk noticed this young man's suffering and felt compassion for him. One autumn day, he invited the young monk to walk with him in the garden. The leaves were changing colour, turning from green to gold and red and orange. The beauty was breathtaking, but also tinged with the sadness of ending. "Tell me," said the head monk, "what do you see when you look at these leaves?" The young monk thought for a moment before answering carefully and slowly. "I see things that are dying. I see beauty that will soon be gone. I see reminders that nothing lasts, that everything we love will be taken away." The head monk nodded slowly, accepting this answer without judgment. They continued walking in silence, leaves crunching softly beneath their feet. After a while, the head monk spoke again, his voice gentle and kind. "What if you are looking at this the wrong way?" he suggested softly. "What if these leaves are not examples of death, but of transformation?" The young monk was not sure what his teacher meant by this question. "The leaves are falling," he said. "Soon they will rot. They will be gone forever. How is that not death? How is that not loss and ending?" The head monk smiled and bent down to pick up a particularly beautiful leaf. It was bright red with edges of gold, perfect in its autumn colouring. He held it up so the light shone through it, making it seem to glow. "This leaf," he said, "was once green. It spent months making food for the tree. It was part of something larger than itself, contributing to the whole. Now it has changed colour and fallen. Its work in that form is done. But look," he said, gesturing to the ground covered with fallen leaves. "These leaves will become soil. They will feed the roots of the very tree they fell from. Next spring, new leaves will grow, nourished by what these leaves have become. The leaf does not disappear. It transforms. It becomes part of something new." The young monk looked at the leaf in his teacher's hand with fresh eyes. He looked at the carpet of leaves covering the garden path. He looked at the bare branches of the trees already preparing for winter. And he looked at the tiny buds that were already forming, waiting for spring. For the first time he saw not death, but a continuous cycle of change. Nothing was truly lost. Everything was simply taking a different form. The water that filled the river today would evaporate and fall as rain elsewhere. The wood that burned in the fire would rise as smoke and settle as ash. The body that breathed and moved and thought would eventually return to elements, but those elements would continue. They would become part of other forms. Nothing ever really ended. It only changed, only transformed, only continued differently. The young monk sat down on a stone bench, his mind opening to this teaching. He thought about his family, lost so many years ago in the flood. He had held on to their memory as something fixed, something that should not have changed. But perhaps they too had simply transformed. Perhaps their essence continued in other forms, in the trees that grew by the river, in the clouds that drifted overhead, in the young monk himself who carried their love within his heart. He felt something shift inside him. Something that had been tight began to loosen. Tears came to his eyes, but they were not only tears of grief, they were also tears of relief, of release, of finally letting go. The head monk sat beside him in silence, offering presents without words. After a long while, the young monk spoke again, his voice softer now. "I have been so afraid of loss that I forgot how to love," he said. "I have been so focused on ending that I could not see continuing." The head monk nodded. "This is a common trap on the path," he said gently. "We see impermanence, and we become afraid. We try to protect ourselves from change, but impermanence is not our enemy. It is the very nature of life itself. Without change, nothing could grow, nothing could learn, nothing could awaken. The caterpillar must change to become the butterfly. The seed must change to become the tree, and we must change too, again and again, as we move through life." The young monk looked out at the garden with its falling leaves and bare branches. He saw it differently now, not as a scene of death, but as a scene of transformation. The garden was not dying, it was resting. It was preparing for what would come next, and in that resting, there was a kind of peace he had not felt before. From that day forward, the young monk began to practice differently. He allowed himself to love, knowing that love might lead to loss. He allowed himself to enjoy beauty, knowing that beauty would fade. He allowed himself to be present with whatever was happening without trying to hold on. And in this allowing, he found a freedom he had never known before. He discovered that impermanence was not something to fear, but something to embrace. It meant that pain would pass. It meant that new joys would always arise. It meant that no matter what happened, life would continue to unfold. Years later, when the head monk himself grew old and his time came to end, the young monk, now older himself, was there by his side. There were tears, of course. There was grief for the loss of his teacher. But there was also gratitude and acceptance and a deep peace, because he knew that his teacher was not disappearing, only transforming. The wisdom they had shared would continue in the young monk's teaching. The love they had felt would continue in all the lives they had touched. Nothing was truly lost. Everything continued in ways seen and unseen. This is the teaching that floats to you now, dear listener, in the night. Change is not something to fear. It is the very texture of being alive. The day you have just lived through is already changing into night. The thoughts you had this morning are already fading into memory. The person you were yesterday is already becoming someone slightly new. This is natural. This is good. This is how life renews itself. And in this constant change, there is a stillness that never changes. The awareness that notices change is itself unchanged by what it sees, like the sky that watches clouds come and go without being affected by weather. You are that sky, that stillness, that unchanging witness to all that changes. Rest now in that knowing. Let it comfort you as you drift towards sleep. If these teachings bring you peace, you are welcome to return whenever you wish. This channel will be here, offering rest and reflection in the quiet hours. Simply subscribe, and you will find us waiting whenever the night calls you back. But for now, there is nowhere else to be, nothing else to do, only this gentle floating in the darkness, this peaceful drifting towards sleep. The night deepens around you like a great and loving ocean. Its waters are warm and dark and infinitely deep. They hold you completely. You do not need to swim. You do not need to struggle to stay afloat. The water itself supports you. The darkness itself carries you toward rest. Let your limbs grow heavy. Let your breath grow slow. The boundary between waking and dreaming grows thin and transparent now. Perhaps you are already dreaming. Perhaps this voice is part of your dream. It does not matter. Waking and dreaming are both held in the same awareness. Both are experiences arising in the vast space of consciousness. And that consciousness is you. Not the small you with a name and a history, but the deep you, the true you, the you that has always been at peace. This you does not need to be saved or fixed or improved in any way. It is already whole, already complete, already exactly as it should be. All the spiritual seeking, all the self-improvement, all the trying to be better. These are movements on the surface of an ocean that is already at rest. The ocean does not need to improve itself. It is already perfectly ocean, and you do not need to improve yourself to be worthy of peace and rest. You are already worthy. You have always been worthy. You will always be worthy. Tonight, let this truth sink in. Let it become part of your dreaming and sleeping. You are enough. Just as you are, right here, right now. The candle has burned down to its last inch now. The flame flickers lower. Soon it will gutter out, and only the gentle darkness will remain. But darkness is not something to fear. It is the womb from which light is born. Every morning begins in darkness, every dawn emerges from the night. So let the darkness hold you now. Let it cradle you like a sleeping child. You are safe here. You are loved here. You are home. There is one more story that rises now, like a bubble from the depths of a still pond. It is a very old story, passed down through countless generations of seekers. It speaks of a great library that once existed in a distant land. This library held all the wisdom teachings that had ever been written down, scrolls and books from every tradition, every teacher, every master who ever lived. People would travel for months just to study there, to absorb its treasures. Scholars spent entire lifetimes reading, trying to comprehend all that knowledge. The library was considered sacred, a monument to human understanding and wisdom. But one terrible night, a fire broke out in the ancient halls. Perhaps a candle fell. Perhaps lightning struck. The cause was never known. What was known was that the fire spread quickly, consuming everything in its path. The precious scrolls and books burned like dry leaves in autumn. Centuries of wisdom reduced to ash and smoke in a single night. The scholars who lived nearby rushed to save what they could. They carried armfuls of texts out into the night, weeping as they worked. But it was not enough. Most of the library was lost to the flames. By morning, only ruins remained, blackened walls and piles of ash. The scholars sat among the ruins, devastated by what had been lost. Some wept openly. Some sat in stunned silence. Some raged at the injustice. How could this happen? How could such precious knowledge be destroyed? What would become of wisdom now that its greatest repository was gone? But among the scholars was one old teacher who sat quietly, seemingly at peace. He did not weep or rage or sit in stunned despair like the others. He simply sat, watching the smoke still rising from the ruins. A young student approached him, confused by his peaceful demeanour. "Teacher," the student said, "how can you be so calm? Everything is lost. The wisdom of ages has been destroyed. This is the greatest tragedy imaginable." The old teacher looked at the young student with gentle and knowing eyes. "Tell me," he said softly, "when you read those books, where did the wisdom go?" The student was puzzled by this question. "It went into my mind," he said. "And when you understood a teaching and it changed how you saw the world, where was the wisdom then?" "It was in me," said the student. "It had become part of how I think and live." The old teacher nodded slowly. "So the wisdom was never really in the books, was it? The books were only fingers pointing at the moon. The moon was always in the sky. They were only maps of a territory. The territory itself was always here." The young student began to understand what his teacher was saying. The true wisdom was never the words on the page. It was the understanding they sparked. That understanding lived in the minds and hearts of all who had truly received it, and it would continue to live, passed on from person to person, generation to generation. The fire could destroy the paper and ink, but it could not destroy the understanding. The old teacher continued speaking, his voice calm and measured and kind. "There is a danger," he said, "in becoming too attached to the form of wisdom. We worship books and traditions as if they were wisdom itself, but wisdom is alive. It cannot be contained in any fixed form forever. It flows like water, taking the shape of whatever container holds it. When one container is broken, it finds another. It always finds another. The teachings that were lost tonight are already alive in countless minds. They will be spoken and written again, perhaps in new words, new forms, and those new forms may reach people the old forms never could. Loss is not always what it seems. Destruction is not always final. Sometimes what looks like ending is actually transformation, renewal, beginning again. The young student looked at the smoking ruins with different eyes now. He still felt grief for what was lost. That was natural and right. But he also felt a strange sense of hope rising within his chest. The wisdom was not gone. It was alive in him and in everyone who had studied there, and it would continue in ways that no fire could ever touch or destroy. In the weeks that followed, something remarkable began to happen. The scholars who had survived began to write down what they remembered. They gathered together and shared teachings, filling in each other's gaps. They discovered that collectively they remembered far more than any one of them alone. And as they wrote and shared, they found that their understanding was deeper. The fire had burned away the words, but it had purified the essence. What emerged was not a perfect recreation of what had been lost. It was something new, something that held the spirit of the old, but breathed with new life. Some said the new library was better than the old one had ever been. Others said it was simply different, neither better nor worse, just transformed. But everyone agreed that wisdom had survived, that understanding could not be destroyed, and this realization became itself a teaching, perhaps the most important of all. Do not cling too tightly to forms, even sacred ones. They will change. Do not put your faith in things that can be burned. They will burn. Put your faith in understanding itself, in the living wisdom of the heart. That fire cannot touch, that no destruction can ever truly end. This teaching settles over you now like a soft and ancient blanket. Whatever you have lost in your life, whatever has been taken from you, the essence of it still lives in you, in others, in the world. Nothing is ever truly lost. Everything transforms. Everything continues. You can release the grief you have been carrying. You can let it soften and dissolve, not because your losses did not matter. They mattered deeply. They were real. But because holding on to grief too tightly blocks the flow of new life. Like a river that is dammed, the waters grow stagnant and stale. But when the dam is released, the river flows again, fresh and alive and free. Let your grief flow tonight. Let it move through you and release. Let the tears come if they need to come. Let the feelings rise and pass. You are safe here in the darkness. No one is watching. No one is judging. Only the night holds you. Only the stars bear witness to your healing. Peace is not something we create. It is what remains when we stop struggling. This truth echoes again through the corridors of your resting mind. You have heard it several times now. Each time, perhaps, it lands a little deeper. Like water slowly wearing a groove in stone, repetition carves understanding. The groove becomes a channel. The channel becomes a pathway for peace. Soon the water flows naturally where resistance once blocked its way. Your resistance to peace is softening now. Your barriers are growing thin. Not through effort, not through force, just through gentle repetition and allowing. Breathe in, let peace enter. Breathe out, let tension leave. Breathe in, you are held. Breathe out, you are safe. The rhythm of these words matches the rhythm of your breathing now. Or perhaps your breathing matches the rhythm of these words. It does not matter. What matters is the union, the harmony, the gentle merging into rest. Your body has been waiting for this moment all day long. It has carried you through waking hours, through tasks and conversations and movements. Now it can finally rest. Now it can repair and renew and restore. Trust your body's wisdom. It knows how to heal itself during sleep. It knows how to process the day's experiences, keeping what serves and releasing the rest. Your mind can step back now and let the body do its work. There is nothing you need to think about tonight, nothing you need to figure out. The problems of yesterday can wait until tomorrow brings fresh perspective. The worries about tomorrow are just thoughts arising in the present moment. They have no more substance than clouds. They cannot touch the sky of your awareness. Let them drift. Let them pass. Let them dissolve into the peaceful night. You are not your thoughts. You are not your worries. You are not your fears. You are the awareness in which all these experiences arise and fade. You are the silence between sounds, the stillness beneath movement, the peace within change. This is not a belief to adopt. It is a truth to discover through direct experience. And right now, in this moment of quiet rest, you can touch that truth. Feel the awareness that is reading these words, the knowing that is present, that knowing is not troubled. It is simply here, open and present and aware. Thoughts may arise within it. Feelings may colour its surface for a moment, but the knowing itself remains unchanged, like a mirror reflecting whatever appears. The mirror is not affected by what it reflects, it simply shows what is, and you are like that mirror, reflecting the world without being changed by it. This is your deepest nature. This is what you truly are. Rest now in that nature. Let it be your refuge through the night. The sounds of the night settle into a deep and peaceful hush. Even the rain has stopped now. Only the dripping of water from leaves remains. Drip, drip, drip. Each drop a small meditation. Each drop a tiny letting go. The water does not cling to the leaf. When it is time, it falls. It does not worry about where it will land or what will happen next. It simply releases its hold and trusts the gravity of the earth. You too can release your hold tonight, on thoughts, on worries, on the day. Let gravity gently pull you down into the depths of restful sleep. There is nothing to hold on to, nothing that needs your grip to survive. The world will continue without your holding. Life will flow on its way, and you can rest, finally and completely, in this moment of surrender. The stories have carried us far tonight, through monasteries and mountains and gardens, through libraries that burned and temples where cats taught wisdom without words, through the calligrapher's cottage and the garden of falling autumn leaves. Each story was a small boat carrying us further into the sea of peace. Now we are far from shore, far from the busy world of doing. Here in the deep water, everything is quiet, everything is still. The waves that once seemed so large and important have faded to gentle swells. The concerns that once felt so urgent have softened to faint memories. What remains is simply presence, simply being here, simply resting in awareness. There is nowhere else to go. There has never been anywhere else to go. All our searching and striving has been movement within something that never moved, like a fish swimming frantically through an ocean, looking for water. The water was always there. The fish was always held, always surrounded, always home. You are like that fish tonight. You have been swimming so hard for so long, looking for peace, looking for happiness, looking for somewhere to rest. But peace was always here. Happiness was always available. Rest was always possible. It only seemed hidden because you were looking so hard for it. Now you can stop looking. Now you can simply be what you have always been. The awareness that is reading these words is the peace you are seeking. The stillness that is beneath your thoughts is the rest you longed for. You found it, or rather, you stopped running away from what was always here. Let this recognition settle. Let it become your felt experience, not just a concept. Feel the peace that is here. Feel the stillness that holds everything. You are that peace. You are that stillness. You have always been. The night will continue to deepen now as we approach the final shore. The voice will grow softer. The words will become fewer. The silence will expand. This is natural. This is the rhythm of descent into deep sleep. First the stories, then the reflections, then the silence, then the rest. You are welcome to drift off at any point. The words will continue gently. They will be here whether you hear them or not, carrying you deeper, like a stream that flows even when no one is watching it flow. The essence of tonight's teachings can be held in a single breath. Breathe in, everything changes. Breathe out, nothing is lost. Breathe in, peace is already here. Breathe out, struggle is optional. Breathe in, you are enough. Breathe out, you always have been. These are not commandments to follow. They are invitations to discover. They point toward a truth that cannot be fully captured in words. But words can create openings. They can part the curtains for a moment. And through those partings, glimpses of the wordless can shine through. Perhaps tonight you have glimpsed something. Perhaps something has opened slightly. Or perhaps the words have simply been a lullaby, soothing you towards sleep. Either is perfect. Both serve the same purpose in different ways. Rest now. The night is deep and full of stars you cannot see. They shine whether you see them or not. They ask nothing of you. And you too can ask nothing of yourself tonight. Nothing at all. Just be. Just breathe. Just rest in this ancient and endless moment. The thoughts that arise now are softer, less insistent, more like whispers. They are fading into the background as sleep approaches from all sides. Let them fade. They are not needed now. Nothing is needed now. The doing is done. The thinking is thinning. The being remains. It always remains. It is what you are when all else falls away, and all else is falling away now. Gently, slowly, peacefully. Memories of the day grow distant. Plans for tomorrow lose their edges. Names and faces blur into the sweet forgetfulness of approaching sleep. This forgetting is not loss. It is release. It is freedom from the burden of constant selfing. For a few hours, you do not need to be anyone at all. You can simply dissolve into the ocean of consciousness from which you arose, and from that ocean you will rise again when morning comes, refreshed, renewed, ready for whatever the new day brings. But that is tomorrow's gift. Tonight there is only this gentle dissolving. The edges of your identity grow soft and permeable now. Where do you end and the darkness begin? It is hard to say. Perhaps there is no boundary. Perhaps there never was. Perhaps what you call yourself is just a temporary pattern in an endless flow, like a wave arising from the ocean, moving for a while, then returning home. The wave is never separate from the water. It is water taking a form, and you are never separate from awareness. You are awareness taking a form. Tonight, the form relaxes. The wave returns toward the ocean of sleep. There is nothing sad about this. It is natural. It is good. The wave does not lose anything by returning. It gains everything it seemed to leave. It gains the depth, the vastness, the timeless peace of the ocean itself. You too gain something in sleep that waking cannot give you. A rest so deep it touches the source from which you came. A renewal so complete it makes tomorrow possible and new. Trust this process. It has been happening every night since you were born. It will continue happening night after night, carrying you through your life. And when the final sleep comes, the one from which there is no waking in this form, even that is not an ending. It is a deeper returning, a fuller dissolving. But that is not tonight's concern. Tonight is simply for resting, for letting the gentle darkness hold you and keep you safe. The last embers of the candle glow faintly in the distance of imagination. Soon they too will fade, and only the peaceful darkness will remain. Embrace that darkness. It is your friend. It is your rest. It is your home tonight. The breath moves on its own now. You do not need to breathe consciously. The body knows what to do. It has been breathing itself since your first moment. Let it continue. Let everything continue without any effort from you at all. You have done enough. You have been enough. Now you can simply rest. The world does not need you to hold it together tonight. The stars will keep their courses. The earth will keep turning. The people you love will keep breathing in their own beds. Everything continues, whether you are awake or asleep. Nothing depends on your vigilance now. So release your vigilance, release your watchfulness, release your guardedness. Let the ancient protections soften. Let the walls come down. You are safe here in the night. Nothing can harm you here. This is the innermost sanctuary, the place where rest is absolute. Enter now, if you have not already. The doors are open wide. Only silence lives here. Only peace. Only the endless present moment. The present moment has no past to regret, no future to fear. It is simply now, always now, forever now. And in the now, all is well. All is always well when seen from the perspective of the eternal now. The dramas of life are real, but they are also passing. Like clouds crossing the sky, like waves crossing the ocean, like thoughts crossing the mind. They come and go, but something remains unchanged throughout it all. That something is your deepest self, your truest nature, your home. You are home now. You have arrived. The journey is complete for tonight. Rest in that arrival. Rest in that homecoming. Rest in that peace. The voice will continue for a little while longer, but you do not need to follow. Let the words become sounds. Let the sounds become sensations. Let the sensations become dreams. The boundary between listening and sleeping is dissolving now. Perhaps you are already dreaming. Perhaps these words are part of your dream. It does not matter. Waking and dreaming are both held in the same awareness, and that awareness is resting now, deeply, peacefully, completely. The stories of tonight drift through the space of your resting mind. The blind calligrapher painting in darkness. The temple cat teaching without words. The young monk releasing his fear of change. The library that burned and was reborn. These are not just stories. They are invitations. They are mirrors. In each one you may see something of yourself, something you recognize. Perhaps the part of you that tries too hard. Perhaps the part that fears loss. Perhaps the part that clings to forms. Perhaps the part that struggles for peace. All these parts can rest tonight. All of them are welcome here. You do not need to fix or change or improve any part of yourself. You only need to let each part rest exactly as it is. The struggling part can rest. The fearful part can rest. The achieving part can rest. All the different voices inside you can fall silent for a while. And in that silence, something deeper can emerge, something whole and peaceful. This is who you really are, beneath all the parts and pieces. This is the self that needs no improvement, the self that is already at peace. It has been here all along, waiting patiently for you to stop and notice. Tonight you have stopped. Tonight you have noticed. Tonight you have come home. Peace is not something we create. It is what remains when we stop struggling. For the last time tonight, let this truth land in the deepest part of your being. Let it become not just words, but felt reality, lived experience, embodied wisdom. You know this truth now. You have touched it. You have tasted it. And it will be with you when you wake. Tomorrow, a companion and a guide. Whenever struggle arises, you can remember. Peace is already here. Whenever striving exhausts you, you can remember. Letting go is always an option. Whenever loss frightens you, you can remember. Nothing is truly lost. Everything transforms. These teachings are not foreign to you. They are reminders of what you already know. Somewhere deep inside, you have always known these things. You came into this world knowing them, and then the world helped you forget. But forgetting is not permanent. Remembering is always possible, always available. Tonight you have remembered. Even if the words fade, the essence will remain. It will be there when you need it, rising from the depths when called. Trust that knowing. It is more reliable than any book or teacher. It is your own deepest wisdom, your own inner guide, your own true self. Rest now in that trust. Let it carry you through the remaining hours of night. The dawn will come when it comes. The new day will bring what it brings. But for now, there is only this darkness, this peace, this gentle resting. The breath moves softly. The heart beats quietly. The body repairs itself in silence. All the complex processes of renewal are happening without any effort from you. Cells are dividing, tissues are healing, memories are being sorted and stored. You do not need to manage any of this. It happens in the wisdom of the body. Just as the trees grow without trying, your body heals without your direction. Just as the rivers flow to the sea without a plan, your sleep follows its own deep wisdom. Trust that wisdom. Let it do its work. You are in good hands tonight, the hands of the universe itself, which has been caring for life for billions of years. It knows what it is doing. It does not need your guidance or control, and so you can release, finally and completely, into the arms of the night. The last words are approaching now. The voice will soon fall silent, but the silence that follows is not empty. It is full, pregnant with peace. In that silence you will continue to rest, to heal, to dream perhaps. Whatever happens in that silence is exactly what needs to happen. Trust the process. Trust the night. Trust yourself. You are held in something vaster than you can imagine, something that has held every being who has ever lived and slept, every creature, every human, every conscious being throughout time and space. All have rested in this same darkness. All have surrendered to sleep. You join that vast company tonight. You are part of something ancient and eternal, and in that joining there is comfort, there is belonging, there is peace. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You will never be alone. The universe itself is your companion. The night itself is your friend. Rest now in that companionship. Rest now in that friendship. Rest now in that love. For what else can we call it? This vast holding that never lets go. It is love. The love of existence for itself. The love of being for all beings. You was loved tonight, simply because you exist, simply because you are. No conditions, no requirements, no performances needed. Just you as you are, held in the arms of the infinite. This is the final word tonight. The word beneath all other words. Love. It is what you are made of. It is what you return to. It is what remains. And now the words end. The voice fades. The silence begins. But the silence is not empty. It is full of love, full of peace, full of rest. Sink into that fullness now. Let it receive you completely. The candle has gone out. Only the darkness remains. But the darkness is gentle. The darkness is kind. The darkness is home. Breathe, rest, sleep, dream. The night is here. The breath moves on its own. And all is well. All is well. All is well.